This era of Star Rail is unlike any other that we've experienced. Never before have there been this many playstyles all vying for the top seat, whether it be HP scalers like Castorus and Hysilens, demolishing AoE content, Hypercarry and Axa and Archer shredding through single target, or Finon doing whatever he's doing. Today's meta is a fierce competition with many challengers, but with the introduction of Hysilens, we have a definitive new contender for the top spot, with her heralding the return of some old favorites. And unlike Tingyun, this resurrection will actually matter. Hoyo finally remembered that Dot exists, and the newest character, Hysilens, has brought it back in a big way. After more than a year-and-a-half long drought, we finally have a new unit that completely revitalized the archetype. With unbelievable stats, the right elements, and multipliers that make Black Swan look like a release unit in comparison, it seems like our prayers have finally been answered. And Dot is back on center stage. People have been speculating for a long time what her role would be in the Dot team. Would she replace Kafka as the Dot procer, or Black Swan as its main applier? As we found out, the answer is neither, as Triple Dot would prove to be the strongest configuration, perfectly leveraging the strengths of all three units. And that's the key concept here, bringing total cohesion to a previously lacking composition. And if you want all of the basically required components for this comp without breaking the bank, then you need to check out this video's sponsor, LDShop. Gacha games are an expensive hobby, but with LDShop, they don't have to be. LDShop is a safe and reliable game top-up site created by LD Player Emulator, which offers unbeatable prices for Wineric shards and other in-game purchases in Honkai Star Rail, as well as Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, and other games. If you use the affiliate link below, you'll receive a 15 and 5% off coupon, which can save you up to $50 in Honkai Star Rail purchases. All you need is your server and game ID to top up, and if you spend over $80 in 1 month at LDShop, you'll get a free supply pass. Thank you to LDShop for sponsoring this video, and be sure to check them out using the link in the pinned comment and description. It's no secret that Dot has been completely washed for some time now. The previous Kafka, Black Swan, Ranmei, Huohuo comp, or Kabasurm, as everyone commonly referred to it as, had a few shortcomings, including, but not limited to, lack of Dot application, lack of skill point generation, lack of defense reduction, lacking multipliers, lack of toughness shred, lack of survivability, lack of versatility, lack of viability, and lack of big whale. Needless to say, she has all of these bases covered. Hysilens has by far the most stacked kit out of all of the Dot units, which admittedly there isn't much competition for. To show you what I mean, here are all of the notable features for the two most prominent Dot units, Kafka and Black Swan. Keep in mind that the quantity of the contributions doesn't necessarily equate to a stronger overall kit, but we can typically look at kit bloat for an indicator of how strong a character is. As you can see, each character has a modest amount of features that give them narrowly defined strengths, but few that really address the overall weakness of Dot comp. Oh, and here's Hysilens. And let's not diminish the raw impact that these all have on a given combat scenario. You thought Black Swan's 20% defense reduction was good. Try stacking that with Hysilens' 25% reduction and a 20% vulnerability on top of that. Impressed by Swan inflicting every single Dot state in the game with her ult? Hysilens will make all of your Dots do that just by being on your team. Not to mention her having the single best break type, making breaks actually a relevant source of damage in your Dot team. Okay, sure, she sounds good on paper, but if you're just looking at kits in a vacuum, then even Yanking wouldn't sound all that bad. I mean, just look at that ult multiplier. So how well does she perform? Well, I suppose that'll depend on a few things. As we've learned so far, Dot is very different from every other team archetype. Where in something like a break comp, you'll typically see the same core characters, but some amount of variation in which main DPS or support you run. With Dot, you either use Kafka, Black Swan, Huohuo, and now Hysilens, or replace any of the units and have your overall performance dive off a cliff. You'll also be facing a noticeable drop-off if you're not up against the right element. Not nearly as bad as before, which required both lightning and wind weakness to clear in under 15 cycles, but you'll definitely feel it when going against complete off element, since for some reason, Hoyo decided that this will be the single archetype without any weakness implant whatsoever. With all of this being said, and if we were to say that all of these conditions are met, there's just no way to overstate it. She is a meta-defining unit. She generates so much energy for Kafka, amps Black Swan's damage by an unbelievable amount, and relieves a ton of pressure off your sustain. And of course, flat out nukes the enemy. And let's not forget that while Dot has plenty of unique setbacks that none of the other archetypes share, it also has some unique strengths befitting of its unconventional nature. For example, there really isn't much of a notable difference between how Dot performs in 5 target scenarios versus in single target, which is something entirely unique to Dot. Also the fact that, unlike your standard hypercarry setup, the best in slot team doesn't change every new banner. It's not like Castors or Akron, where there have been so many iterations of the optimal setup that by the time they become irrelevant, you realize that your account became an orphanage for obsolete characters you accumulated while scrounging for Jades in an attempt to keep up with the meta. Sure, Kafka, Black Swan, and eventually Hysilens will fall off at some point, but at least it would have been a relatively cheap investment that gave you solid results for an extended period of time. Plus they're hot. So does it even need to be said? Well, of course it does. You know exactly what I'm going to say next. Hysilens is, quite literally, the Shaquille O'Neal of Honkai Star Rail. Just like the Big Diesel himself, Hysilens is an unstoppable force, the likes of which we've never seen up until now, whose game, though simple, is so dominant that there's very little you can do to stop it. At least until they come up with the HSR version of Hack-a-Shack, which I guess would be Debuff Cleanse. Whether it's single target, blast, or AoE, the answer is always the same. Run through it at full speed. We can't forget to mention that, much like Shaq really needed Kobe to reach their full potential, Hysilens without Kafka is a bit of a meme. But that's just the thing though. If you don't have Kafka at the very least, and realistically Black Swan as well, you certainly won't be reaching her full potential. And while Hysilens solves most of the many problems that Dot has historically faced, there are still plenty of weaknesses like slow ramp up, wave resets, slow enemies, and lack of versatility. As strong of a unit that Hysilens is, she does not solve these problems. They'll have to wait for the Dot healer that'll definitely come any patch now, which is what I've been telling myself for the past 2 years. So I guess that begs the question, in the Lord's Year of 2025, is Dot worth investing in? And honestly, my answer would be, why not? If what we've seen is any indication of what could be to come, I don't think Hoyo will be releasing another Dot unit anytime soon, maybe even for another year at least. But it's not like this will really change the overall shelf life of the playstyle itself. Every character, no matter how busted they were on release, no matter how much hype and how many people swear by their longevity, eventually gets power crept, unless you're Huohuo. So I'd say if you are a fan of Kafka, and let's be honest with ourselves here, you are a fan of Kafka, there's no reason to not pull. And as much as we've memed on Dot 4 being completely unviable until now, we somehow collectively forgot the insanely long run that Dot had in being the definitive best team in the entire game for every single game mode. Ultimately, it comes down to, why do we play Star Rail? Is it the captivating storylines? The compelling characters? Could it be the dynamic and engaging gameplay? Maybe it's just to be part of an awesome, passionate community. Yeah, obviously not any of those. It's to see big, colorful numbers, which Hysilens is the absolute queen of. Thank you for watching. More Star Rail videos coming soon.
Anyway, $4 a pound.